The heart of gratitude is the opening posture of sincere prayer as night falls and the business of the day begins to fade. We pause not out of routine, but out of reverence. Gratitude is not just a polite thank you. It is an outpouring of the soul, an acknowledgement that every good and perfect gift has come from above. No matter how the day unfolded, whether filled with triumph or trial, we recognize that God's hand has guided us, sustained us, and shielded us. Gratitude shifts our focus from what went wrong to everything that God made right, often without us even knowing. As we look back over the hours that now rest behind us, we remember the moments of strength we didn't realize we had, moments where grace carried us. We acknowledge the times we were spared, not because of our wisdom, but because of His mercy. Gratitude is not just about what we received, but about who walked with us. It's about recognizing that He was present in our laughter and our tears, in our struggles and our victories, in our confusion and our clarity. Gratitude becomes the lens that reframes the day, allowing us to see the fingerprints of God over every detail. When we give thanks, we are choosing to honor the one who gave us breath. We are saying, I see you, God. I know you were with me, even in the quietest moments when it felt like we were alone. Gratitude opens our eyes to the truth that we were never abandoned. He was in the sunrise that greeted us, in the food that nourished us, in the conversation that uplifted us, and in the strength that brought us to this moment of rest. A grateful heart attracts peace. When we thank God, we are not only expressing appreciation, we are declaring trust. We are saying, I believe you are good. I believe you are faithful. Gratitude builds a bridge between what we have and what we hope for. It reminds us that if God has carried us this far, He will carry us forward. Even when prayers haven't been answered as we thought they would, gratitude says, I still trust you, God. Gratitude softens the heart, making it fertile ground for faith to grow. In the stillness of the night, when all is quiet and distractions are distant, gratitude draws us into deeper fellowship with God. It quiets the voice of complaint and amplifies the song of worship. It takes what we might overlook and turns it into a moment of praise. Gratitude acknowledges not only what we have received, but the giver himself. It elevates the ordinary into a divine encounter, transforming our perspective and anchoring our spirit. Gratitude changes how we pray, how we rest, and how we rise again. It shifts the atmosphere around us, inviting heaven into our room, our mind, and our heart. Through gratitude, we honor God not because life is perfect, but because He is perfect. Requesting divine peace is more than a simple prayer. It is a declaration of trust in the one who can calm the storms within us. Even when the storms around us continue to rage, when the world grows quiet and the lights go out, the mind often starts its restless dance, replaying conversations, revisiting regrets, worrying over tomorrow. But in this moment of stillness, we turn to God and ask for the peace that only He can give, a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances, a peace that passes all understanding. Divine peace is a gift that transcends human logic. It is the gentle hush that enters the heart when everything else feels chaotic. It does not deny the reality of our problems. Instead, it places those problems into the hands of a God who has already written the ending. This peace becomes a shield to the soul, a holy calm that guards our hearts against fear and fills the cracks left by uncertainty. When we call upon God for peace, we are calling upon the God of the impossible. We are asking him to calm the inner trembling the same way he once calmed the winds and waves. As the night settles, we seek the peace that silences the enemy's whispers, the accusing thoughts, the anxious loops, the mental battles we fought all day. We pray for peace that anchors us, grounding our thoughts in truth so that lies cannot take root. This peace becomes the bridge from tension to trust, from panic to praise. It is not earned. It is not manufactured. It is received by faith. The same God who spoke light out of darkness can speak peace into our innermost being. And so we ask for peace in our minds, in our homes, in our relationships, and in the unseen places where our souls wrestle. We ask for peace over our rest, that our sleep would not be tormented by fear or agitation. We ask for peace over our dreams, that no nightmare or spiritual attack would disturb us. We ask for peace over our loved ones, that God's tranquility would wrap around them like a blanket, forming a barrier against everything that would steal their rest. Peace is not absence, it is presence. It is the presence of God himself dwelling within us. It is his voice that quiets the noise, his touch that soothes the ache, his spirit that steadies the weary heart. When we pray for peace, we are inviting God to fill every room of our soul, to take space in our thoughts, to reign over every emotion, to replace our turmoil with his tenderness. Tonight, as we breathe deeply and release the day, we choose to receive his peace, a peace that holds us, heals us, covers us. We no longer chase after artificial calm or temporary numbness, for we have access to a peace that endures, a peace that comes from the very heart of God. We rest not because life is perfect, but because his peace is. Deep rest is not just the closing act of a long day. It is a sacred invitation into God's embrace where our bodies, minds, and spirits are refreshed by his presence. In a world that demands constant motion, where the mind races long after the body has grown weary, we seek more than mere sleep. We seek restoration. We seek the kind of rest that only God can give, a rest that quiets the storm, heals the wound, and breathes new life into dry places. Rest is not retreat, it is renewal. It is the space where we release our striving and allow God to restore what was broken and renew what became worn. True rest goes beyond physical relief. It touches the soul where anxiety once lay tangled. It enters the heart where burdens had settled. Rest in God detoxifies the spirit. It unclutters the mind. It calms the emotions. We find that in this divine stillness, there is a holy exchange, our exhaustion for his energy, our confusion for his clarity, our weariness for his strength. When we rest in God, we're not just recovering from the day, we're being prepared for the next. As we settle into bed, we pray not just for sleep, but for deep rest that heals the unseen wounds of the day. We ask God to soothe the spiritual bruises left by disappointment, to mend the inner fractures caused by stress, to silence the internal noise that keeps us restless. We pray that every breath we take while we sleep becomes a breath of heavenly peace flowing through us, calming, cleansing, and comforting. Even as our bodies lie still, we trust that God is at work in places we cannot reach on our own. This kind of rest is a divine gift, one that comes from handing over control. It is surrendering our need to fix everything before morning. It is acknowledging that we are not the source of our own strength. Resting in God says, I trust you enough to stop. I trust you enough to sleep. I trust you enough to let go. It is in this surrender that rest can finally do its work. Not the kind of sleep, a sleep that leaves us just as tired as we were before, but the kind that rebuilds us from the inside out. There is power in releasing the day, in saying, God, I've done all I can. Now I give the rest to you. We entrust our worries into his hands and invite his peace to take over. And in that holy moment, rest becomes a place of worship, a place of healing, a place where the presence of God does what no medicine, no distraction, no habit can do. It aligns our hearts with heaven's rhythm and recharges us in ways sleep alone cannot accomplish. When we rise from deep rest, we rise renewed, revived, recalibrated, ready to step into a new day, not with yesterday's fatigue, but with fresh strength from the throne of God. And so we rest, not because we're giving up, but because we are being restored. We rest in the one who created rest. For in him alone do we find the deep, soul-level renewal we so desperately need. Hope for a new day is more than a fleeting wish. It is the steady flame that burns in the heart of every believer who trusts that God is not finished yet. As we lay our heads down at night with the events of the day behind us and the uncertainties of tomorrow waiting in the shadows, we anchor our hearts in the promise that each new morning carries new mercy, new possibility, and new grace. Hope does not deny the challenges we faced, but it boldly declares that the story is still unfolding and God is still writing. When we pray for the morning to come, we aren't simply asking for another sunrise, we're asking for renewal. We're believing that the same God who brought us through the last season will also prepare us for the next. Hope is the quiet strength that whispers, you survived this day and you'll conquer the next. It is the expectation that God's plans for us are still good, still active, still full of purpose. Each new day is evidence that heaven has not run out of blessings, and God has not run out of reasons to use us for his glory. As we sleep, we entrust the future to the one who shaped it. We hand over the dreams, the desires, the decisions that await us, and in doing so, our hearts become fertile ground for God's direction. In the quiet of night, our prayers for tomorrow become seeds of faith planted in the soil of trust. We rise with expectancy, not because every storm has passed, but because we know who controls the weather. Hope doesn't depend on a perfect forecast. It depends on a perfect God. We ask God to give us fresh vision when we wake, to open our eyes to new opportunities, to speak to us in ways we didn't hear the day before. We ask him to give us courage to walk through new doors, wisdom to avoid the wrong ones, and patience to wait for the right ones to open. We pray that the morning light will bring not just a brighter sky, but a brighter spirit, one filled with clarity, creativity, and divine inspiration. Hope for a new day is also a declaration of resilience. It says, I'm still here. It says, what tried to break me yesterday didn't succeed. No matter how heavy the past has been, Hope gives us the strength to rise again. It is the spiritual reset button that reminds us that each day is a gift and a chance to grow closer to God, to love deeper, to serve higher, to believe stronger. And so as we close our eyes, we aren't saying goodbye. We're saying, see you soon to a new sunrise. We are preparing to meet a fresh wave of grace. We are expecting that even if today held tears, tomorrow can hold joy, that even if today brought battles, tomorrow can bring breakthrough. Tomorrow is not just another date on a calendar. It is the unfolding of God's next chapter in our lives. Hope is the quiet prayer that walks us into the future with faith. It is the torch that lights our way through the night. It is the reminder that morning always comes, and with it, another chance to discover the fullness of God's love, purpose, and promise in our lives.